edition of What the Fuck Happens to YouTube Atheist Community and the Tiny Chat thing. So anyway, last night, yes, adequate. Put in my 7 hours, and it was a pretty good conversation, generally speaking, and not too much trolling until the end, and that was just in the comments, so it really was, it was okay. A little bit of physics with Pierrot. So that was sort of interesting. I mean, I do like those conversations, I have to admit. Yeah, and it's probably just because I think I'm onto something. I probably wouldn't like them if I didn't think I was onto something. So anyway, so I'd probably do some more physics videos this week just because it is on my mind and, it is occupying processing time. But we'll see. I guess it kind of depends on if there's any comments worth responding to. Partly. Getting to the meat of it. I mean, I really do expect over time for me to be able to provoke some sort of acceptance, acknowledgement that there is a discussion worth having about the fundamental premises that underlie interpretation of physics experiments and even the math of physics. I mean, there's the presumptions underlying it are just wrong. I mean, they've got the causes wrong. It's not like they're getting effects wrong. They're just getting causes wrong. And some of that is important in terms of some of the stuff they're projecting to be possible, I guess would be an argument I could make. That those projections are based on false notions and therefore they're incorrect. And projecting, it comes up in Anaconda now on this whatever. It's this classic Nietzsche, gimmick of I will backseat drive everybody else's reality except his own, right? It's just so funny. Everybody else will be subjected to his backseat driving, except he will accept no backseat drivers saying something, well, what about when no. So it's just typical Nietzsche. I will solve nothing. I will just complain about everything. I will offer no alternative explanation. No alternative solution. So just crap, generally speaking. Just the crappiest of the crap heads. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. So yeah, and I already kind of mentioned other people making some videos. Mike Bayul is back, and old fan, of course, is making videos, and so there's stuff happening. So by anti-convincing, he was make these 3 or 4 war videos, this is just such an easy target. I mean, wars are always bad. They radically change things, and the change is out of control. Well, duh. But I mean, you could argue that everything that we do have, the fact that we're even alive, the fact that only 2 nuclear bombs have been dropped, some of that can be called a success, right? So even as bad as it was, it might have been better than what it could have been, or would have been, if certain things didn't happen. So again, it's just such a mushy complaint. And what first occurs to me is that he's sort of implying that there's a recklessness or a sloppiness in the performance of these critical decisions, and that's the implication anyway. And that maybe there should be a hands-off approach or something. Something where he's implying that somebody should take it seriously, and yet he procreates without taking it seriously. He has no plan. He has no guarantees. Unintended consequences is the door he has opened for the victims, the potential victims of his action. The world certainly doesn't need another mouth to feed. There's no real prospects that this can be, you've got too much water and you're going to throw another bucket of water into the pool. because it's good water. My water's super cool water, so yeah, my super cool water is somehow better than the other water. Yeah, right. That's somehow you throw your bucket in, that isn't going to mean another bucket somewhere else has to be displaced. Your mouth to feed is going to be fed. That means some other mouth to feed maybe isn't going to be fed. No, give a damn about any unintended consequences. No, give a damn about taking it seriously. I had a whim. That's his. That's the extent of his analysis of any obligation to the future. I had a whim, and he'll make judgments about complex decisions about whether you should intervene because the Nazis are taking France. So those decisions are somehow black and white, and we should have known what the right thing to do is. But his decision to have a kid is somehow something different. So it's just duplicity all over the place. A gross hypocrisy. Like I said, I will backseat drive everybody else's life. I will not be subjected to any backseat drivers. I mean, you just can't. It's the definition of hypocrite. I mean, his face ought to be in the dictionary under the word hypocrite. That guy's face belongs there. Because that's all this is, this Nietzsche hypocrisy. I'll complain about everything, and I will offer you no solution except, where's the buffet table, and where are the hookers? That's their solution. I will do what I feel like, as the alternative to do. They've done it wrong. The right thing to do is be a selfish cunt. I mean, you just can't get any. There's nothing else to say. Anyway. So in other news, there isn't too much of that. I gotta do some vegetarian content for Vlogger Dome. Again, there's a $25 reward in it for you if you can manage to put together 2 or 3 minutes of decent content on the subject, worthy for distribution to the masses. Excuse that hiccup thing. And such. I mean, Matt made a video, all that. It's part of it's part of his doctorate in bibble babble. Really isn't. He's, I like Matt, but it's such an unnatural, he's reading a script, and it's just not really great. And it's about just these silly people of, Goethe, silly philosophers. It just really doesn't. Oof, totally not getting him anymore. It's just, whoa, are we ever living on different planets? So anyway, and the Logic Roll the Dice guy sometimes posts these clips of different people. So there's little Bertrand Russell and the Donna Hilly guy, and Dawkins, little clips of different things. And the 2 + 2 = 4 thing came up in that thing. And people do what, everybody has their own interpretation. Some people say we made up mathematics, but we really didn't make it up. I mean, the category of two-ness is a fact. It's not a two-ness is not two-ness is not a mysterious thing. Three-ness is not a mysterious thing. It's a real quality that something can have as being in a three-ness group, or to be identified as having those relationships. So it's a description of a relationship. 1 plus another 1 is a category 2. It's a descriptive thing. And math is just a description of the description, that when you have 2 2s, you have 4. So it's just a description of reality. And anyway, with the guy in the confrontation is like implying that somehow the fact that 2 + 2 = 4 means there's a God. It means there's an intelligence that had to create the basic function of the universe or something. And it's just like, the basic function of the universe is wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. What, you need an intelligence to create that? You need an intelligence to create explosion and condensation? these are intelligent concepts, we're going to call that intelligent, then you might as well call poop coming out of anus intelligent. I mean, it just there's just no point in calling that intelligence. If that's the nature of your supernatural God, then you have totally broken language. If my expectation of the creative intelligence is it doesn't have to be as smart as an iPad, it's not even as smart as an iPad, well then shit, it's really not good enough to be called a god or a super anything. So anyway, that's kind of mush. And beyond that, sorry to say, there isn't much for me to comment on in the little world that I watch. Yeah, sorry. There really just isn't much happening. So, maybe we can just keep this brief for a change. I mean, I can always talk about subjects, obviously, but there is this idea that it's time to do this in some sort of more serious way, and that's, again, in defense of Logerdome, that's sort of the intent, is to try to create more complex and more deliberate argumentation, more strategic, deeper, where there'd be text and argument and, this idea of making it a decisive event, to get it over with, to do it in such a manner as to complete the subject, start to finish. And I personally think I'm there, in the sense that I think, I have compiled the connected thoughts, the argument in a pretty good form, that if given the opportunity, I can start from one point and get to the end point and explain why this is the way it is. So it's just a matter of doing it in that kind of deliberate, disciplined manner, instead of this spontaneous, I just turn the camera on and I talk manner, which is just not professional enough, call it that. It's not of a sufficient quality to get the job done. And we also know it's like making a movie, right? I mean, you can screw the movie for stupid reasons, like you use a cheap camera and it's wobbling, or it could be a great movie, but there's an aspect of it that's just too irritating, so people turn it off. You can ruin a good movie by just having bad actors in it. You can, a lot of things like that. So it is something that needs to be done with some care, and it's on me to find the discipline to do that in a better way. And people try. It's like Matt doing his his little presentation of his philosophy. I mean, he set it up pretty good with the books behind him, make it look kind of a professional, kind of good quality. But yeah, it's too unnatural. It's too rehearsed. It's too, it's not quite there either. So there's a fine line between got it right and got it wrong. It's like a lot of things are just critical like that. If you're a pole vaulter, every step has got to be right. The run up to the pole is just as important as all the rest of it, and the position and all this. You got to get all these things right before you can even get to the event. And so I guess I'm just sort of describing that, yes, I'm still pretty damn sloppy in my form, and I have to clean some of that up to finish this performance, to get over the bar, to do all that needs to be done to complete the process. It's still a work in progress, and I have to make it a work finished, job done. Um, say it well and say it completely. Yeah, I'm just saying. I think it's time. I think it's there. I'm just saying. I think it's ready to be put in the oven. Yeah, okay, that's a good metaphor. Yeah, all the ingredients are in. It's well mixed. It's well formed, and it's just time to cook it. And I got, that's also maybe that's not a good way to put it, because yeah, it's like it isn't quite ready. Um, I guess all the ingredients are on the shelf. All the ingredients are on the counter. That's it. Okay, so all the ingredients are there, and now it's just a matter of following the recipe, the formula, to create something, to make sure there's no poison and there's no dirty spoons, and you're not mixing with something. You don't fuck it up. Um, you don't put the wrong thing in. You don't stir it too much or stir it too little. You do all of that stuff correct. There, that's a better metaphor. So anyway, this is probably of insufficient interest to you because you're just a consumer. You're just saying, feed me. And I'm talking about making food, and that's just probably irritating. But I guess part of this whole thing is me. I mean, I'm stuck with it, so I'm just explaining that why the meal's a little late is it is a lot of work, and sometimes people don't appreciate that. I don't think thinking's hard, and thinking well is difficult, and I'm not asking for a gold medal. I'm just saying, that's why it's taken a while. So this is a lot to ask. Your expectations are high, and I don't have, Jedi powers. I have to do this with mundane human skills, and I have to do it in a circumstance where, I'm hanging on the edge of a cliff, or one of my hands is broken. I mean, I have limitations and weaknesses myself as a human being, and so all of this is work. Yeah. So I'm just complaining. Yeah, I'm just complaining. So anyway, it's an explanation, but I guess it's also a complaint. Yeah, but I guess what I'm trying to say is it's obviously I understand. I'm working on it, and I'm just trying to verify the fact that yes, I know I got to do better. I'm working on it. That's all I can say. So I'm working on it. Just not quite there yet. Yeah, new sneakers maybe. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that's enough. We'll leave it at that. And say, God, Anaconda sucks. I almost want to just make a separate channel. Anaconda sucks. Because he really needs a fact checker and just so full of shit, or walking behind him and pointing out how he's just so full of shit. His double standards are insanely silly and so blatant. It's like, I can make judgments, you can't. I mean, it's just nonsense. I'll tell you when judgments are appropriate. Oh, so I guess your judgment of when judgments are appropriate is an appropriate judgment? Oh, is that how it works? Amazing. Anyway. So, till next time. Such. So forth and whatnot. Yeah, that's really enough. I really want to make an economics video too, just because the modern mystic is still doing his peak channel thing, and it just keeps going over and over and away, but it just doesn't have any, it doesn't have any bite in terms of explaining why perpetual debt is a flawed system. That you can't just keep increasing debt and say, hey, we're all rich. That it is exactly like just, being able to keep getting new credit cards. And as long as none of the credit card companies go bankrupt, it'll work, right? Everybody can just get a new credit card, right? And we can all just buy stuff on credit. And as long as the credit card company never has to account for the fact that they're never going to get the money back, it works. It creates new money. But it's not really new money. It's bad paper. It's bad money. It's new money, but it's also bad money because it doesn't represent a collectible thing. So it's just an artificial inflation. And that's sort of the catch here too. I don't think people would recognize the nature of inflation. I mean, that inflation is kind of a thing that it depends on where you're sitting, what's inflation, what you own, what you're sitting on in terms of stuff. And it also depends on how you look at it over time. And that inflation is something you can pay for long after the price went up. So in a way, the inflation is it can vibrate through an economy for 50 years. So even though prices might be at this moment going down, the fact is wages are going down. So real inflation still exists. So even though the price tag says something, the price tag doesn't mean too much if you don't count where the distribution of the wages is going. So if the wages are all going to 1% of the people and the price tags are staying the same, well, that just means that the wages aren't going to that other percent. Their wages are going down. And so if your wages are going down, obviously, even if prices are going down, your wages can be going down faster than prices are going down, that kind of thing. So it's still inflation, even though in absolute terms it's a deflation. Yeah, that's part of it. But see, that's where it gets more complex, because you say, well, how can there be more money in the world and prices go down? And it's a valid question, but we know that the prices that are going down are prices for selective items, and that items of durable value aren't going down. Houses and fuel, generally speaking, but obviously there's been a little bit of a dip now. But that'll only last as long as a recession happens. I mean, obviously, if there's any rise in consumption, that won't last. So anyway, I mean, it's more evidence of the fact that there's a decline in consumption, not a what's the right word to use? Well, there is a little bit of excess supply, but that's short term. So it's not like it's like everybody who would sit there and say, okay, yeah, prices are going down, they know they're not going to stay there. I think that's probably a given, unless the economy goes down the toilet. The only way they can stay down is if all new construction stops. So anyway, enough of that. Sorry, I mean, I could have just kept this brief, and I didn't. But there's no point in saying sorry. It is what it is. Yeah, bonus. Extra free stuff. Wow. Yeah, I should apologize for producing extra free stuff. Probably not.